The year of 2022 was packed full of incredibly popular games that people loved and can't quit talking about even months later when you beg them to stop. However, you won't have to stop me because I didn't play any of those games. However, I did play a lot of games and some of them were so good that someone has to talk about them, and that someone is me. So here are the top 5 games I played of 2022. Number 5. Power Wash Simulator. There have been games I played for much longer and much shorter amounts of time, but it felt extremely appropriate that I put in almost exactly a 40-hour work week with this one. Yet despite it being pretty much exactly that, it didn't feel like work at all. Traveling this world and cleaning skank-ass buildings and vehicles that were impossibly dirty with increasingly powerful jets of water consistently put me in a trance-like state where hours would just disappear and I'd feel nothing but pride at rending the dirt from those surfaces. Combine that with the slow but ever more puzzling mystery unlocked within the levels and I'd gladly take another 40-hour journey into the wet and wild world of water-washing wonders. Number 4. Hard Space Shipbreaker. When this game finally ventured out of early access, I'd already spent dozens of hours methodically plucking valuable equipment and carving the structure out of derelict spaceships and tossing them into various repositories to pay off my enormous debt. Even the numerous resets of the campaign weren't enough to keep me from coming back. However, when I finally got my chance to make my way through the full experience and fight for orbital worker rights while fixing up my own personal space jalopy, I was officially having a great time. Even after all that, I went back to blaze through some more titanium and nanocarbon in the challenge modes. If they'd release some DLC, I might still be up there running my own personal interplanetary chop shop. Number 3. Kirby and the Forgotten Land. Despite never really being a big Kirby fan, from the very first introductory cutscene I felt a warm, soft, pink, squishy feeling of misplaced nostalgia as my largemouth friend set out on another journey. It doesn't take long before you're wrapped up in an adventure that takes you through a beautiful collection of distinct levels and presents you with a thoroughly expansive variety of powers you'll be slurping out of consumed enemies. But on top of that, the Big Mouth mode borrows some of that magic from Super Mario Odyssey where you can use totally transformative abilities to roll over your opposition or just squirt them into submission. It may not be the most challenging game, but it's so full of delicious moments that even Kirby himself might have trouble taking it all in. Plus, the soundtrack is crafted with pure unfiltered joy. Number 2. Vampire Survivors. Another victory from early access, this once $3 game has risen to the unfathomable price of $5. However, if you can swing it, the amount of content that's made its way into this title makes it an incredible value. For a game that essentially only makes use of a thumbstick or directional arrows, there's a surprising amount of depth and tactics involved in making progress. You can run out on the internet and find all the methods for unlocking characters, weapons, and secrets, but nothing beats stumbling onto the layers upon layers of weird shit that will be occurring on your screen simply by playing the game. Even after unlocking a dozen characters, you're only really scratching the surface of what's been added. Returning to this at its 1.0 launch once again led me down a wonderful path with absolutely no vampires on it at any point, and I can't say I've spent a more worthwhile $3. Number 1. Diablo Immortal. Wouldn't that be some shit? Actual number 1. Tinykin. If you watched my review on this game, you probably saw this coming. Tinykin was a game that I anticipated enjoying from the demo, which I played through twice, and when I finally got the full game, I couldn't put it down. Roaming this giant, tiny world as a little human alien boy trying to rebuild a spaceship with the help of even tinier indigenous creatures is obviously reminiscent of Pikmin. Yet the gameplay was much more like a classic collectathon platformer where exploration and item gathering was the focus. With levels that had your inch-high characters scaling shelves, chairs, toilets, plants, and every other household item on the way up to the ceiling, there wasn't an inch of space that wasn't used to make this a more enthralling experience. Even the dozens of random little bugs that populated the game added to the sense of rich world building and discovery. All of this was encased in a warm, fuzzy soundtrack distinct for each level that transformed with every area you visited. There was truly no moment in Tinykin that I didn't love, and I'm impatiently waiting for the developer to one day offer up more of this world for me to delve into. It wouldn't be a top 5 though without an honorable mention because I'm incredibly indecisive and I want to talk about more video games. But instead of one honorable mention, I have 2 because I couldn't even be decisive about that. Yet these games were also pretty good and worthy of the attention and recognition as well. First up is Neon White. I played this game initially because people seemed to be losing their minds over it, and at first I didn't really get it. But after playing through a chunk of it, it all started coming together. The idea of a seemingly regular game that tricked you into speedrunning it was clever, but they also threw in a bunch of anime people, a story that's pretty off the wall but still interesting, and dialogue that can potentially cringe your face into an unrecognizable mass of flesh if you're exposed to too much of it. It's easy to get into and has a ton of potential for mastery and competition, but more than anything, it's just solid gameplay that provides precisely the right amount of challenge. And finally, the last honorable mention, Cult of the Lamb. Hack-and-slash roguelikes and survival city builders might not be the newest genres on the block, but when you combine them under the management of a cute little god-empowered sheep, things get a lot more interesting. The biggest appeal of this game is the continual surprises offered by the concept of running a cult. Performing rituals, sacrifices, resurrections, and all of those cult-adjacent activities aren't your typical gameplay. On top of that, you have a decent management sim that can also be engaged with your magical abilities and a competent hack-and-slash roguelike combat system. While the story may be a little bit predictable and the game built from very common parts, it all adds up to something just unique enough to be enjoyable throughout. Picking my favorites from the dozens of games I've played and the 48 videos I've released this year wasn't an easy task, but 2022 was another great year for games and my channel. Even though we're well on our way into this new year, I've already seen and played some fantastic titles that I look forward to sharing with you all in my familiar abbreviated and satirical fashion. And you might just see a couple of new types of content too if you stick around. So thank you for another great year of reviews, and if you'd like to see more hot takes, warm satire, and tepid commentary about video games, make sure to subscribe and check out my other abbreviated reviews.